Okay, guys, today we're going to talk about something called complex zeros. So before we've been talking about zeros as the points where your graph hits the x-axis, right? So these points right here that are x-intercepts. Today and these are called zeros, right? Today we're going to talk about things called complex zeros, which means they're zeros, but they don't actually touch the x-axis. For example, if I have something like this equation, this U-shaped equation, or function, it's not touching the x-axis anywhere, but the fundamental theorem of algebra, if you remember, that tells you how many roots something should have. Let's say that this function is f of x equals x squared plus 3. Well, the fundamental theorem of algebra tells us that this equation should actually have two roots because the degree is 2. So the two roots are complex, which means that they're not real. Okay, they're not really going to touch the x-axis, so we're not going to be able to identify them from a graph. It also means that when we start solving them, they're going to be imaginary or complex. So we're going to bring back that lovely letter I like you learned last year. So let's look at these examples A, B, and C. In these examples, I'm just simplifying the radicals. If you notice, all these radicals have a negative inside of them, which usually means like we can't do that, no way. But we actually can. If we have a negative inside of a radical, we can just put an I outside and make the number positive. That I is called an imaginary number, okay? Once I kind of get rid of that negative on the inside, then I can just simplify this like I would anything else. So 2, 42, 6 and 7, 2 and 3. Then I look for these pairs of 2s. So I have a pair of 2s. I have a leftover 3 and a leftover 7. So the pair of 2s will come out. So I'll have 2i on the outside of my radical. And then I multiply the 3 and the 7 together to get 21. So then this would be my simplified radical. So the first step is just the easiest. Just make the number inside the square root positive and put an I on the outside. So the same thing here with B. I'll make it I times the square root of 62. I'm going to break down 62 to 2 and 31. And 31 and 2 are actually both prime. So since there's no pairs here, that's just going to be my final answer. I square root of 62. And then finally, I'll do this last one, I square root of 81. If I break down 81 into 9 and 9, I get a pair of 9s. So this whole thing just turns into 9i. And there's nothing left over to go inside the radical. So then that 9i is my final answer. Okay. So basically the idea is that we're going to be seeing this number I come up a lot. And I, again, it's called the imaginary number. And this right here, this box that I've outlined here, is super important. I is equal to the square root of -1. So that's why we can just take anything that's negative, that's a square root, and just put an I in front of it and make it positive. The other thing that's really important is that I squared equals -1. Hopefully you remember that from last year, but if you don't, here's why. So I squared would be the same thing as the square root of -1 squared. And we know that the square root and the square exponent, they cancel each other out, which means that all I'm left with is that -1. So that's where I'm getting that I squared equals -1. Okay, so let's do some practice multiplying imaginary and complex numbers, and then we'll talk about how we would go about finding them in the context of graphing polynomials. So when you're multiplying imaginary and complex numbers, first of all, here's the difference. Imaginary just means it has an I in it. Complex means that you've got something with an I, but you're also adding on another part that doesn't have an I. So like an imaginary number would just be like 3i. A complex would be like 3i plus 7. Okay? So let's just look at some examples of how we would do this. So in number 1, I'm going to multiply -5i by 7i. I multiply the -5 and the 7 together to get 35. And then with the i's, I get an I squared. Because I times I is I squared. Now remember that I squared, like we learned up here, if I can scroll up, I squared is just equal to -1. So I can replace that I squared with -1. -35 times -1 is just a 35. Okay. I'm going to let you do 2 and 3 by yourselves, and I'm going to jump down and I'm going to do number 4 with you guys. So with number 4, we've got a little bit more of a complicated situation because I have some complex numbers here, right? I'm adding and subtracting. So I have to distribute here. I have to do 3 times the 8, 3 times the I. that'll be 24 minus 3i. And I also have to do 2i times 8 and 2i times negative I. So 2i times 8 is going to be 16i. 2i minus I is going to be, 2i times negative I is negative 2i squared. Then I'm just going to simplify and combine some like terms. So the 24 stays the same. Then I have negative 3i plus 16i, which is going to be 13i. And remember, I squared is equal to negative 1, so you can always replace an I squared with just a negative 1. So now I'm left with 24 plus 13i plus 2. Now I can combine the 24 and the 2. I'm just left with 26 plus 13i. That's going to be my final answer. So rule of thumb, just make sure you're always distributing correctly, and make sure you always replace your I squareds with the negative 1. Alright, now 5 and 6 look really funky. I know, we've got like double sets of parentheses. We're going to handle them the exact same way we were doing the other ones. Okay? Oh, sorry, I got all messed up. So, with number 5, I'm going to think about this 2i plus 1, this 2 plus I and this 2 minus I kind of as their own term. So when I distribute the x in, I'm going to do x times x to get x squared, and then x times this whole set of parentheses to just get minus x times 2 minus I, okay? And if I wanted to, I could distribute that x inside the set of parentheses, but for now I'm just going to leave it alone, okay? Then I'm going to take this set of parentheses, 2 plus I, and I'm going to distribute it to that x. So I'm going to get minus x times 2 plus I, and then plus 2 plus I times 2 minus I, okay? So now it's looking very messy. So now I need to do some more multiplying. Okay, so I'm going to take this x on the outside of my parentheses here and just distribute it in. So I have an x squared minus 2x plus xi minus 2x minus xi. And then I'm going to handle this double set of parentheses. So I'm going to have to do some intense distributing here. So 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times negative I is negative 2i. I times 2 is positive 2i, and then I times a negative I is negative I squared. You might want to pause the video here and just make sure you understand where I got all of these numbers from. Okay, and then press play again and come back. At this point, I just want to start combining some like terms. So I'm going to get out a different color pen for this. So I am going to combine anything that has an x in it, just an x. So I have a negative 2x and a negative 2x. Those are going to combine to be a negative 4x. This x squared just gets to come down. I've also got an xi and a negative xi. So those are nice. Because they're opposites, they're just going to cancel each other out. Okay. Then I have this plus 4. I'm just going to leave that because there's nothing else to combine it with. Then I have these two pieces, the negative 2i plus the 2i. Those are also going to cancel each other out. And then remember, I squared is negative 1, so I have minus negative 1. Okay. I'm just going to do some final simplifying. So x squared minus 4x. 4 minus negative 1 is the same as 4 plus 1. So it's going to be, oh, that should be 4x. X squared minus 4x plus 5. And that would be my final answer here. Okay. So with that one, it was just a long process. Every step we were doing was really just adding, subtracting, or multiplying. It just took a long time. So you have to be very patient with some of these problems. Okay. Let's talk about where i's even come from. So, you know, we have these nice equations that already have I in them, but sometimes we start with something like number 7, right? X squared plus 1. And we're actually going to find some imaginary numbers from this very like normal and nice looking equation. What we're going to do is we're going to use the quadratic formula. So with number 7, I'm actually going to rewrite it so it might be more easy for us to see some of the things that are happening here. I have x squared plus 0x plus 1. So to do the quadratic formula, identify what a, b, and c are. My a is 1, my b is 0, my c is 1. Then I have to plug that into the quadratic formula. So if you need to, pull out your other note packet or your other note sheet and remember what the quadratic formula is. So it's negative b, so negative 0, plus or minus the square root of b squared, so 0 squared, minus 4 times 1 times 1. Okay. then it's going to be divided by 2 times a, so 2a. Okay, now it's time to do some simplifying. I have this negative 0 out front. That's not going to do anything, so I'm just going to change that to positive or negative square root. And again, this 0 squared isn't going to do anything either. I have negative 4 times 1 times 1, which is just going to change to negative 4, all over 2. Okay, now this looks already a lot better than what we started with, but we want to make it even nicer. So remember that when we have a negative and a square root, we can just bring an I out front and then make the number positive. Okay. Now the square root of 4 is 2, so I'm just going to replace the square root of 4 with 2, and make it positive or negative 2i over 2. And look at this. We have a 2 on the top and the bottom, so I can cancel those out, and all I'm left with is a positive or negative I. So that means that I have two answers here. One of my zeros is x equals I. The other one is x equals negative I. Note that both of these are complex zeros, which means that both of them have an I in them. So when I actually graph this, this graph isn't even going to touch the x-axis in a visible point. Okay. Okay, let's do one more. We're going to do 8 together, and then I'm going to let you guys do 9 and 10 together. Okay. So number 8, I'm going to identify my A, which is 1, my B, which is negative 2, and then my C, which is 5. I'm just going to plug stuff into the quadratic formula. So I have a negative 2, plus or minus the square root, negative 2 squared, minus 4 times 1 times 5. If this is too fast for you, press pause, go fill in your quadratic formula, and then come back and watch me finish the problem. Okay? Now I'm just going to do some simplifying. So a negative 2 would just be a 2, plus or minus the square root. Negative 2 squared is going to be a positive 4. And then 4 times 1 times 5 is 20, so it's going to be minus 20. And all of that's over 2. Okay. And then I'm just going to subtract the 4 and the 20 to get negative 16 over 2. Now I've got that negative underneath the square root, so I need to bring in some imaginary numbers. So I have 2 plus or minus I square roots of 16 over 2. Square root of 16 is 4, so I can replace that with 2 plus or minus 4i over 2. And that looks pretty simple. It's pretty simplified. I can actually do one more step though. I can change this to, instead of 2 plus or minus 4i over 2, I can make that 2 over 2 plus or minus 4i over 2. Okay, then that gets even nicer because 2 over 2 is just 1. 4 over 2 is just 2. So I have 1 plus or minus 2i. Okay, so that would give me my two answers. X equals 1 plus 2i and x equals 1 minus 2i. Okay, so then these two would be my two complex zeros. So once you guys try 9 and 10, make sure you feel confident with those, and then you'll be ready to rock and roll for the assignment.